Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations, from book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Gurhan with Book Selfie, and I am coming at you with a great author, which I do have the book, and the name of the book is, of course, here you see it, The Alpha Upgrade of H.D. Heather's book of GLADS. Now we're going to ask him about that. Of course, this is volume 1, and we are anxiously waiting for volume 2. And this book and me, we are coming at you from Austin, Texas. And I have Todd here. I am going to keep it quiet now, and I'm going to ask him to introduce himself. And I just wanted to know where he is coming from also. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction there, Gurhan. I am, of course, Todd Glider, the author of The Alpha Upgrade of H.D. Heather's, which is indeed Book of GLADS, volume number 1. And I'm coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where the book was written, and that is really the setting of the book as well.
Yes, and buildings are intact, right?
The buildings are indeed intact. Yeah, absolutely. That's a big, the book is set 200 years in the future in Philadelphia. But the buildings in Philadelphia that are, part of the reason that people today in 2023 visit Philadelphia are very much intact in the here today in 2023, as they will be as they are in the novel 200 years from now, where they are considered almost sacred artifacts.
Right. The bell is still cracked, though, right? A little bit.
Well, you know what? It really, really is. And, I was just down there last week, and, they got top minds in this town. And they still
it's still cracked.
I know, right? You can put a person on the moon, but you can't crack the liver. You can't stitch up the liver cell.
Okay, so my next question to you is, when did you start your author journey? That's important.
Well, my author journey, specific to being an author, really, all my life, I wanted to be a writer my whole life. From I think at age 10 or 11, I probably, whatever, the first time I got very positive feedback from an elementary school teacher probably is where it traces back to. And I even...
So when was that? About 2 years ago?
That was it was 2 years ago. That was exactly that was a little bit. It was quite a ways ago. It was another century ago, literally. And so I that was my major in undergrads. I got a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing from grad school, and have been writing my whole life. And in fact, wrote a novel to satisfy my graduate requirement back in 1994, 95. But that novel certainly wasn't published beyond being in the library at the university where I got my degree from. I continued to write all my life. It's been, integrated into my life, all my life. I've written short stories all my life, and I wrote a documentary series that, of course, is available, and all kinds of other things that have involved writing. But I have not gotten back to writing a novel. If we're talking about author journey in this particular novel's case, this started probably, it started around December of 2021. That was when I started this novel. Exactly.
2021. Is that the COVID time?
Yes, exactly. It certainly was the COVID time. Yeah. Although now we're saying December 2021. So things were starting to really open up quite a bit at that point, and depending upon the state that you lived in, it may have opened up a great deal or less so. Yeah. So that was where it began, or when it began, I should say.
You mentioned about your novel sitting in the library. I didn't know about that. Maybe we should take a look at that. What do you think?
Maybe so, but you know what? The funny thing about it is I don't even have access to it. I'd have to go to the school, which is in Miami. That's where the book is. And I know I have a copy of it somewhere, but I think it's in a storage locker that's up in northern Maine, because we moved from northern Maine 14 years ago to Europe, and before we moved, we put everything in storage, and I haven't been up there in that storage locker since 2008, and we've been paying for it every month since then, and we really ought to get up there already and see what's in there. But that would be where that book is.
Okay, not in digital format, I'm assuming, right?
No. It was
No?
written right around the AOL times of
AOL times.
yep. That was a little while
Yes.
ago.
Oh, so tell us, what kind of a novel is this? What kind of a
Well,
book?
it's a science fiction novel, and it's set 200 years in the future. It's, I guess you'd call it in a way, a post-apocalyptic novel, but it's 200 years after the apocalypse itself. I mean, it takes place in, what year is it? 2170? No, 2370. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the year it's set in. So it's well after this new society has been developed. It's not a post-apocalyptic novel in the sense of people rising out of the wreckage. It's a fully formed society that exists that's called the mega city system. And
Mhm.
there's a mega city in every time zone. And the mega city in this time zone, in the Eastern time zone, is Philadelphia. And Philadelphia was the mega city time zone because it is a time in this world, in this culture, where there's this great respect and reverence for community, the sense that we have shared history. So Philadelphia was chosen as this mega city for the Eastern Seaboard, Eastern time
Mhm.
zone, because there's so many historical artifacts in Philadelphia. There's so many buildings that are significant, that demonstrate that we as a society have this common history, because there's very much in this world that is created here, there's this reverence for having something in common with one another. We live in a world today where everything is kind of fragmented. Everything is is in our AirPods. So we listen to different things, we see different things, we observe different things. Everything is curated. So in this new society that rose out of the ashes of the United States, there is this great, anything that is historic is somewhat sacrosanct. It's very, it's reverential. It's like, so to the extent that it is a time where stonemasonry is actually a viable career trade now, because so much money is time and energy is spent on ensuring the buildings
Uh-huh.
look as beautiful as they did 200 plus years ago. So that's the kind of world it is. And it's also in kind of the same tone. There is a program called the Alpha Upgrade Program, which allows people to upgrade to superhuman dexterity or superhuman strength or superhuman constitution, with the understanding that by upgrading, you are agreeing to engage in gladiatorial combat that takes place throughout the city. And the idea behind the gladiatorial combat is to acknowledge again the fact that we live in this fragmented society. We
Mhm.
are beyond a point now in today where we all wake up in the morning and can walk out to the bus stop and talk about something that happened yesterday, whether it was watching the TV show or seeing a sports program that we can all share an experience. And the assumption here with this new society is that everybody, no matter how many options you have out there, is probably going to join in and watch gladiatorial combat. That we still, at heart, still are, we're human beings, and we have this lust to watch these kinds of things that are pretty intense. And so
Uh-huh.
that was kind of the assumption, and that's the world that exists in. And the main character is actually one of the most. There's a board of the most um, popular, the most powerful gladiators in this system. It's almost like a standings, and the people get to vote on who is the most popular gladiator, or GLAD, hence Book of GLADS. And in this world, the big focus is, in this book anyway, is on H.D. Heathers, and she is it starts off the book as the #4 GLAD in Mega City Philadelphia. That's H.D. Heathers. And she is one of the most popular GLADs really in the entire mega city system. She is beloved. She is a celebrity. But she's finding that she's growing disenchanted with it. She's been at it for 15 years already. You can only enter the Alpha Upgrade Program at age 18, and once you can opt to enter it at any time in your life. But the older you get, the more likely it is that it's going to kill you, because it is not 100% foolproof when you get these upgrades. It
Uh-huh.
can called what is colloquially called cause what is genocide, because it's a genetic
Genocide.
upgrade. So in this
Mhm.
world, it's called genocide. It's just a joke and it's kind of a crass word, but that's what people call it. So She became one at age 18, and suddenly, she is really a huge star, and is a great fighter. I mean, she's considered probably a shoo-in for the #1 spot if the #1 gladiator, whose name is Lucius Scipio, ever decides to step into under the fight light. These arena battles, these gladiatorial combat occurred under this thing called a fight light. But really, the novel begins with her getting challenged to a gladiatorial combat in the gladiatorial arena by somebody from her youth, somebody from where she grew up, which is a town called Germansville, which is actually a real town outside of Philadelphia. That's where she came from. It's considered a satellite village in this world, and so he challenges her clear out of the blue in the middle of nowhere here in Philadelphia. And it really causes this really kind of reconsideration of what she's doing with her life, and, some of the demons that she's been wrestling with her whole life. And that's what a lot of the book is about, along with the fact that because of her power and her celebrity, there are all kinds of these groups, from political to social groups, that are seeking to ensure her influence, because they feel with her influence, with her representing them, they're going to be able to influence others. So there's a lot of that kind of, jockeying to leverage her celebrity for their own gains. So that's a little bit about what it is. Yeah.
What was the name of the character? The #1?
HD Heathers.
No.
HD.
That is HD Heathers.
Yeah.
No, the name of the character is
The challenges her?
Challenge. Yeah.
Okay, so the challenger from her hometown, his name is Billy O. Boyd. That's his name. And he's got a real axe to grind with her. I mean, he hates her more than anything in the world, but she has no idea why. She has no clue. And a lot of that's part of the journey too, is why is this guy want to come at me? And she doesn't even, and he was somebody that growing up was like a super popular guy in high school. She was a nobody. She's like, I don't even think we ever spoke. I mean, he's not somebody who would have ever spoken to me as a child. He was like big man on campus in the high school, and she was like, really quiet.
Mr. Popular,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she can't understand she's like, we never even had an interaction in childhood. What could be upset with me? So a lot of that is her trying to understand that too.
Yeah. So got a question for you. How did you come up with the names?
The names, I don't know. They just kind of came to me. So much about this culture is about the production of content. I mean, there's lots of names like that, and I really do leverage those kind of names. The concept behind the names is consumerism. The idea here is that, I mean, what they're doing is they're engaging in gladiatorial combat, and you could die from it. And it's for entertainment purpose. It's content. So they're producing content all the time. And that is the cornerstone of the mega city system, is this alpha upgrade program that begets these gladiators, these GLADS. And it's so much of it about the production of content and thinking, okay, well, let's make sure that this bout between these two people is really covered well. We got lots of video coverage of it. In the end, if somebody's losing, it turns into kind of a wrestling kind of over the top kind of thing, because at the end of the day, this is entertainment. Yes. That's what it is. So we have this worship for the consumer culture. It's everybody embraces capitalism, and they all just make things and so they make their names catchy. They want their names to be catchy. The whole idea is, I want to be memorable. I want to be a star. I want to be a celebrity, that kind of thing. So that's where the concept of those kind of very unusual, because all of the names were meant to be kind of like, oh, that's a strange name. What So
welcome to America, right?
Yeah.
Capitalism.
Exactly.
Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that was part of the making of the book. And I'm like, you know what? I mean, this is what we are. This is what what we are here in the United States. It's a lot of consumerism. I'm not trying to cast it as a negative thing or a positive thing or anything. Just is a thing. That this is the thing. And maybe one of the founding, what are called Mathers of this whole system, mothers and fathers, the founding Mathers, they're trying to be very pragmatist, very much philosopher king kind of style of establishing a country. It's like, okay, we aspire to this, Like we aspire to being, practicing the golden rule of doing the right thing because it's the right thing. But this is really who we are. We tend to, be self-serving. We tend to be, we're giving. We are, we're also forgiving, but we are also, we are at the end of the day, as human beings, the apex predators of the apex predators. And there is nothing untrue about that. So they're very much trying to just address, like, they're like, we're in this society, we created this world, is not going to be perfect. We're going to do the best we can. Eventually it's probably going to crumble like everything else. One of the big slogans of the book is capitalism is like fire. It does so much good while it destroys everything. So like that is a central thing to this whole like the concept that's going here. So anyway, so that's where the names come from.
So GLADS is a short for gladiators.
Exactly.
Okay, so and that's it. That's it.
They're just GLADS. GLADS are gladiators.
Okay,
and they're called gladiators colloquially. Their technical name is is alpha upgrade recipients. That's what they're called. And if you have your strength upgraded, you have an alpha upgrade. You're AUS. And if so they're very technical terms for these legal terms, but colloquially it's part of the zeitgeist, and the zeitgeist is a big part of this book because that's celebrity culture.
If I remember correctly, your website or your blog has all these abbreviations, names, and the meanings of everything. Is that am I understanding this correctly?
That's correct. Yeah, because there's lots of new terms, and I thought it would be cool to have a glossary there of terms, of like what this means in this society. Because I just thought, why not leverage all the mediums that we have before us, so that's why that's there on the Book of GLADS blog, certainly.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to write this book?
Well, let's see. The first draft, I think, was finished in I think it's 6-7 months. And then, the revisions and the revisions and the revisions took probably another 6 months. It was a lot of revising. Because obviously you want to get it right.
Yes.
And the journey from first draft to final draft, it's a slog. To be sure.
I know about those.
Nevertheless.
I work with a lot of authors. Believe me, I know all about that.
For sure.
They send the script and then they go, "Oh no! Let's just put that aside. I'm going to send you another one."
I think I know somebody who did that. To be honest with you, very personally.
So when you're writing this book, of course, editing and goes back and forth. Did you do any planning for the plotting, or you just sat down and started writing this book?
It all started honestly with just an image. I had this image in my head for some reason of a superhero, a female superhero, sitting in a diner, just having soup, and then amongst just regular folks just sitting there having a diner, regular old diner, your ordinary diner type diner, regular people just sitting down there and unassumingly eating and drinking and what have you. And all of a sudden, a colleague of hers, who is also a superpowered creature, knocks the front wall open to get inside just to go say something to her. That's important. I don't remember what he had to say, but he comes up and he whispers it to her, and she's like, "Did you really not couldn't you have just taken the door? Couldn't you have just walked through the door?" And he's like, "Well, it was important, it's something like that." I think he's big, big galoot. And then he's like, then he leaves, and of course the owner of the restaurant is like, "Hey, HD, you're gonna pay for that, right?"
Yeah, who's gonna pay for
this? Well,
this?
That's your friend. I mean, you can get the money from him if you want, but you're gonna cover that, right? So that was just the image, and that scene isn't even in the book. That's not even in the book, but that was kind of the thing that kicked the whole thing off. I was like, wow, I was like, and it just grew from there. And
that's awesome. Yeah. So there's no planning. There's no plot. There's plotting.
It was just kind of grew kind of organically. Yeah.
So when you're doing this, how did you plan your day? I mean, did you just plan your day? Okay, I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock. I'm going to do this, go to work, blah, blah, and then come back and I'm going to do this again. How did you do that?
Well, basically, a lot of it was at the time. I would get up in the morning, and I was doing my work, the money paying work at night,
Uh-huh.
and so I would get up in the morning, and again, we had just moved to Philadelphia. So this is a whole new experience. The city itself was brand new. And again, we moved to Philadelphia right in the middle of the pandemic. And before moving here from Europe, I'd only been here for 2 hours one time in 2005. My wife had never been here. Our first friend was the realtor. So we knew nothing about it. So anyway, so what I would do every day was I would get up and, take my little iPad with the keyboard thing, the iPad because it was easy to carry around. And I just walk over to City Hall. And City Hall is, in fact, central to this book too. I'd walk over to City Hall here because I'm in downtown Philadelphia. So it's just a 12-minute walk. And I would just sit myself down in Dilworth Park, which is the park surrounding City Hall. And I would just start writing. And something about, just being there in the city,
Nice.
and new to the city and really new to being back in America, to be perfectly honest with you. Like all of it was just, that was the ritual. That was what I did every day. It was just get up and walk down there and just sit myself down, and it would just come. It just started to come really, really, really rapidly.
Nice. It's a true Philadelphian book.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly,
Yes.
to be honest with you, in a self-serving way, it was also a way for me to learn the city. I learned about this new city that I was living in by writing this book, by exploring, to say, okay, well, this scene is going to take place here. I'm going to go and hang out there for a while and like absorb this scene. So that really happened throughout the book, and it almost, to a certain extent, it gamified the writing, the learning about the city, because the other reward of just learning the city was that, hey, I got another chapter out of this too. So it made it kind of like, a little victory that was tangible. It was, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So when you're writing this book, I mean, did you ever get stuck and you just say, hey, look, I got to improve myself. I got to do something, authoring, or, learn how to do authoring. So did you go through that process? Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. So would like improve my writing, my.
Yes.
That was always just like, for me, I've always just, from the writing perspective, and I know this just because, I've been through, because of my going to school for it and all that, it's like, it was always just like, just get it down no matter how bad it is. And I think that's the key to writing just in general. And it's a cliche, it's like, how do you write a book? Well, you just keep writing. You just don't you don't walk away from the blank page, and that's what I would, often it'd be like, okay, I'm sitting down today to write about this part of it. And it would just go off in a different direction. And I just start writing a different thing, an alternate version of it. And I think once or twice that changed the entire trajectory of one or two of the stories. Because there's a few stories that are going together simultaneously in this novel, because the idea is a series. So of course it doesn't end with the ending. It ends with a couple of cliffhangers to keep it going and to ensure that there's going to be enough stories and enough characters that it can continue to grow as far as it goes, or as long as it goes. So certainly there was a couple of changes that occurred that I had no idea were going to happen that really changed the directory. But other times it was just, I just kept writing and it would just say, okay, well, this is probably a throwaway, but I know it's going to scrape off any rust that's still on me from not trying to write something creative in a while. So I just went with it.
Good. So I have a question for you. I have a question about the cover, but before then, you said you went to the City Hall and everything came up, and then you went to another scene to write another chapter, etc., etc.
Sure.
Which, when I had a conversation for the review of this book, by the way, it is on YouTube. Reviewers talked about the sex scenes. So how did that come out? Well, which part of the town were you in by then?
Oh, those scenes right then. Well, it was just, again, the idea here is that this is a society where, to a certain extent, there's supposed to be less of a taboo. And so that there's less of a taboo associated with it. It just seemed like in those scenes that, in particular, if you're talking about the main character, I mean, the main character is a star. I don't know what it is like to be like a star, but I don't think it's really easy to go and meet people as a star. I mean, I imagine, these giants of entertainment today. I don't think they can just walk into a bar or a restaurant or like, just meet strangers. I think it's all of it is like, it's everything, I think they're all in prisons with golden bars to a certain extent. And I think that's hurt, that there's this sense of loneliness that is just intrinsic to that life. And it's certainly something that the main character experiences. And connecting with people physically, even if it's something where it's not like, you're going to suddenly meet somebody that's, out in the streets, because again, you're a celebrity, you're, that's enormously important. There's this longing inside of you to just find physical connection, because you are an object. You are an object of celebrity, of fame, you're an aspirational figure. And you're not approachable in the same way that the rest of us are,
Most of the people are.
Yeah. So, and I thought there was important to show that like, that she seeks connection, and these are the connections that she can seek. And of course, she's in the book, and I think one of the two of the scenes involves her ex-boyfriend, who I won't get into what happens because I don't want to reveal it, just because it's part of the story. But like, there's this, she became, her significant other was another GLAD. Like, those are the kinds of people you can date, because you're both sort of at the same level there, you're dealing with the same things. So, I wanted to kind of demonstrate that. And I also, this is a woman who is one of the most powerful Homo sapiens on the planet Earth. She is an extremely powerful woman. And so the idea of like, okay, I was like, okay, well, how does that come into play with sex? It's like, and I wanted to make it clear that she had to control her strength. It's like, you can't, you can't open right up and like ever feel completely free for fear of accidentally killing a partner. And in fact, in this world, there's actually a legal term for accidental homicide during a sexual act, because it does happen on occasion. And it's obviously, it's not what is the term we use for like, it's I forget the term that we use today for it, but it's like, it doesn't really count as that, because so it's got its own jurisdictional code associated with that. So again, that was also part of it. It was like just showing how the degree to which these people who become who are willing to sacrifice their privacy, etc., for fame, for glory, for this world, how they, that, it might be nice to be like them for a day, but to live like them all their life, I don't think it's cracked up to be. So that was a lot of that kind of thing. And the sex was a part of it. Yeah.
Well, we have to be careful, in the future, I guess, when you're making love to a GLADS.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the cover. Tell us how you came up with the cover.
I will tell you exactly how it came up with the cover.
Yes.
It all started, honestly, about in December, must have been December or January of this year. So my wife and I went to Chicago to visit some friends of ours in Chicago, because another friend of ours from Spain had flown in to direct a play in Chicago. So we wanted to see her do this play, and also spend some time with our friends, who actually, the reason we're friends is because I went to grad school with the person we went to go visit in Chicago. So we stayed at their house, and they've got 3 boys. Their middle child is an illustrator. He's like 15, 16 years old. Saul Cohen, right there. He's the one who draws. It says in the back. So Saul is an artist, and he does a lot of stuff that you can see on Instagram. I mean, he's very much into drawing like futuristic sci-fi type stuff. And, we started talking about it, and my wife, her background is art, and she went to school for art. She taught art to high school students for several years. And so it just got on the topic of maybe Saul would draw the cover. And so the two of them worked together after the decision was made. And that was over the weekend that we visited them. My wife and Saul consult, like we're just talking through Zoom all the time. Like he would do a draft, and then she would give him some notes on it. And ultimately, the cover is really kind of a visual manifestation of the very first scene of the novel right there. So that's kind of what you're seeing in the cover, and that's where that cover came from. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to read these. It's kind of hard to see,
Sure,
particularly when you're going through on the computer, because it's a
for
thumbnail.
sure.
Yeah,
No,
so
for sure.
I have to tell everybody that, yep, you got to make it larger, and you have to see these.
Right, right.
It's all
And we
related
thought
to
it
the
was okay
book.
just because I mean it's a Subway slogan. It doesn't really. It's just that is like that's just one of the cute little slogans of the book. It's like your ancestors dreamed of being a superhero. You can actually be one. That's kind of the way that they get people to get into the Alpha Upgrade program and get
Yes,
excited about it.
yes.
So
Okay, so question for you.
sure.
Considering your background, you went to school, for writing and everything else, and you have a book out. What would be the most valuable one recommendation, okay, to the newly starting authors?
Honestly, it's I think I almost just touched on it already. Just do it.
Let's do
Just
it.
don't stop. Just don't stop writing. Keep facing the blank page head on. Know that today you may not have anything, tomorrow you will, but the reason you'll have something tomorrow is because you didn't today. Staring at that blank page all day is going to get you those words that spit out suddenly beautifully, those moments where you just feel like it's flowing from your mouth like honey, like you're drinking the words that you're making all at once. That is it. It's doing it every day. I mean, if you say you're going to write this book, just keep writing it. If you don't know exactly the plot, it doesn't matter. Keep writing it. Let it go where it goes. And then, eventually, what the worst thing that happens is you hit delete, or you cut that section out and you put it over here. I can't tell you how many pages of that book ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak. I've got 40, 50, 60 pages of stuff that ended up getting completely removed for one reason or another. But I know that stuff was necessary to get to where I got. You could kind of think of it like when you think about like, just compare it to something that maybe we all know. It's like, when you make a movie, or you see it when a movie is made, think about how much outtakes there are in a movie from a film that go into that 2 hours or 90 minutes. There's probably 12, 14, 15 hours of footage that ends out on the cutting room floor just to get to that 90 minutes, 2 hours. So I think that the whole thing is just keep writing. You got your character in mind, or you've got it doesn't even have to be a character. Maybe it's just an image. Maybe it's just a snapshot of an idea or a concept or something that's been, on your mind for a long, long time, and you just want to get it out there. Just start. I mean, that's the whole thing. And I think any author, anybody who's successful, from the greatest to the newest, would say the same thing. You want to be a writer, write.
Write it. Yeah. Just, yeah, I guess, I'm not a writer. So I always talk to the writers, and they usually say the same thing. Those stories don't write themselves. You just have to sit down and write it. That's it.
Right. Well, and I think it's just that's just it, because you'll get to it eventually. Like, write, and just keep writing it. And like, even if, again, it's like, well, wait a minute. Now I'm talking about this other character, and it was started with this character. It's like, so what? Maybe the character that you're talking about now was the character you were supposed to meet in the first place. Maybe you only needed this character here to go and meet this one. And that character, it's like, okay, that character was the mother of this character, so to speak, creatively. So I think it's just it,
Good. So when before you write this book, or maybe during writing of this book, what did your family think? You're like, okay, I want to write a book. And
well, I mean, they were all excited about it.
Yeah,
they were all excited about it. Oh yeah, they were all like, totally, that's awesome. Because again, they everybody who is my family or my friends has known that I've always done creative stuff, and that writing was the big thing always in the background. I mean, I'm in a rock band. I do all kinds of very creative stuff. But obviously my first love, and I think my greatest passion, was always writing. That was the thing that there was always something at stake. Like, that was the thing that was, to me, artistically was sacred to me, because I had a lot of ego attached to writing. Some other things, not as much. Like, I'll do all kinds of creative projects, but the writing thing is a big, big thing. It's it's tied to my identity. So when I was doing it, everybody was very, very, very supportive.
nice.
Some were like, great job, and some were like, hey, it's about time. But everybody was super duper supportive the whole way through, and everybody always said, hey, how's it going? Is it, are you having a good time still? And I was. I mean, writing this book was the most fun I had writing anything, I think, almost in my life. I was like, this is such a fun book to write. And I was like, and I hope that comes through for the readers, that it's like, that it's just the pages turn pretty quickly, and that it just feels like a lot of fun to read, because it was a lot of fun to write.
Okay, so now that the book was out, what are they saying? It's like, okay, Todd, yes, it's all good. So when is the next one?
Well, that's just it. Saying? I mean, yeah, they are saying that. Certainly some people are saying, I've already started. So I'm about, I'd say, 35 pages into the next one now. I'm really excited about
I didn't hear about this, Todd.
You're right. I didn't tell you about it, but no, I think this is, honestly, to be honest, it was because of our conversations. Because I had no idea, because you were the first time you said to me, when's the next one? And I'm like, what do you mean next one? It took a year to make this one. And so that really got me thinking about the next one, and thinking about, like, it's like, oh wow, yeah, maybe we should revisit this and do it. And so I started the next one.
Nice.
And I'm very well into it, and I've got a huge virtual whiteboard that's on my computer with, like, plot lines and who does what and ideas and things, and I'm writing it every day. So
awesome.
Hopefully it'll be done sooner than later.
Okay, good. So my questions are over. However, I wanted to ask you if you would like to add anything else to this conversation.
Only that I hope that everybody out there who is giving it a read are enjoying it, and I want to say thank you for reading it. Just because we have so many entertainment options at our disposal. There is so much content out there to consume. And of course, again, that circles back to the whole concept of the book itself. It's just content. But so the fact that you are embracing my content gives me great pleasure and joy, and I am flattered, and I appreciate it enormously. And I hope you enjoy the ride. I hope you enjoy the whole book. I hope it's an easy read. I hope it's a fun read. I hope you look up and you're just like, wow, I just finished 100 pages and it feels like no time at all. Like, if that's how it goes for everybody, then I really feel like I've done my job. I really feel like I've succeeded.
Yeah, well, you must have done a good job, because 3 reviewers, professional reviewers, by the way, that I associated with, we did a video, as you know. You got solid reviews. It's an awesome book, actually. Yes, people should read it, definitely.
I do hope they do. Yeah.
Yeah, we want the next one.
Exactly. No, it's coming, and I am more excited than anybody about the next one.
Awesome. Yes, great. So, okay, then I want to thank you for talking to me and talking to, of course, everybody else. What I am going to do is I'm going to end this conversation, and we'll talk more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all the time.
Yes. Hold on for a second.
Welcome to Self-Publishing Authors, home for candid talks and honest recommendations, from book editing to book marketing, from author journeys to inspirations. Hosted by Gurhan Demirkan.